Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And this is just a short video, just going back to the discussions that are taking place here on the recent post, the discussion between Sam and myself, and it is, I think, Demon 316. And he called my response a subpar response. Anyway, basically we're discussing about the Allah, and started from a video of Red Missionary. You can follow up with the whole discussion. And now it's kind of shifting directions, and I'm kind of pulling them back because, of course, this is the way sometimes things work in debates. Usually people, when they cannot respond, and they make very haphazard statements, such as Sam made, that he can prove from John 3:16 of me quoting in Arabic that my Allah is Satan. So it's been going on for 3 weeks and yet no proof. Now now it's interesting though, very, very interesting. Because Sam here says, Nak, what did you expect from him? A cognate, rationally consistent reply? You know better than that to expect that from Muslim apologists. And he says, you're right, my bad. Yeah, I think it is your bad. Anyway, let's look at what he says here. 23 hours ago, Nakdiman 316 says to me, if you didn't, or I think to this guy maybe, anyway, it applies to me. If you didn't notice, my goal was not to prove that Allah is Satan. My goal was to prove that your Allah is not the God of Abraham as he claims, but a counterfeit, a wannabe, a phony, an impostor, and a charlatan, I.E. Satan. And John 3:16 proves that for the reason provided by me, Sam Shamunian, and whatever this person is, although he doesn't accept the logical conclusion. Let's go back here. If you didn't notice, my goal is not to prove that Allah is Satan. My goal is to prove that your Allah is not the God of Abraham, as he claims, but a counterfeit, a wannabe, a phony, an impostor, and a charlatan, i.e. Satan. Okay, let's just go back to what Sam says here. What did you expect from a cognate, rationally consistent reply? Cognate, rationally consistent. Allah is not Satan, but a counterfeit, wannabe, phony, imposter, charlatan, i.e. Satan. What does i.e. mean? So Allah is not Satan, he is Satan. I did not want to prove that Allah is Satan, but in the end, his conclusion is that it is Satan. Okay, so basically you said, well, yeah, I didn't want to, I didn't want to prove to you today that it's, that it's sunny outside, but I did want to prove to you that there's a sun, and it's shining, and there's no clouds, and there's nice bright light, i.e. it's sunny. Okay, so that is a very, very consistent argument here. If you did, I'm going to repeat it again. It's a deep point, and you might get lost because that's what usually happens. They say things. They say, my goal is not to prove your Allah is Satan. Your Allah is Satan. My goal was to prove that your Allah is not the God of Abraham as he claims, but a counterfeit, a wannabe, a phony, an impostor, and a charlatan, i.e. Satan. Now, maybe, I mean, please, people, let me know what you think about this statement right here. This is very, very interesting statement, and also, of course, Sam's statement here is very, very interesting. And you're right, my bad. Yeah, I think it is your bad, Nakdiman 316. It is your bad. Okay, let's go back to your bottom line argument here. The Allah of the Quran is not Allah of the Bible, and therefore an impostor. Satan? With a question mark. So now, let's go back. You didn't notice my goal was not to prove that Allah is Satan. My goal is to prove that your Allah is not the God of Abraham, as he claims, but a counterfeit, a wannabe, a phony, an impostor, and a charlatan, i.e. Satan. Okay, so now we're shifting between two things. My claim was I did not whatsoever make a theological statement that Allah of the Quran is the same as Allah of the Bible, or what the Christians believe from Allah, from the Bible of God, of the triune God, as you call it. We know that. We're never going to admit that God is a triune God. What's wrong with you? That's the whole point. That's the difference between Muslims and everyone else. We believe in one God, and you believe in triune gods. Just triune. One God, triune God. So yeah, there's a big difference, I think. A very, very logically consistent triune God. Triune. I mean, there's inconsistency right there, just in that statement, in that word, triune. Anyhow, that's a whole different ballpark, a whole different, discussion. But let's go back to John 3:16 in Arabic, me quoting it with the use of Allah, and me replying to Red Missionary. First video, second video, going into Aramaic, into Syriac, showing the script using Allah in the Bible, people using it centuries before Islam. And going back to Red Missionary's argument about Allah, Al-Uzza, Al-Manat, the people using the different Abdullah, Abdul Muttalib, Abdul this and that. I mean, come on. And they're saying that we have an inconsistent, irrational. Subhanallah. Now, people, please, let's use our brain here. People are saying and using slogans and different words: rationally, consistent reply, apologist, Daogan is this, that, up and down. Yet nothing came. And this is the whole point. I just want Sam Shimon, and Act Demon 360, just admit that you can. This was just a haphazard statement they have made. You cannot prove, okay, from my quotation, from anything. You cannot prove from anything, that Allah is Satan. Okay? If you want to move to a different point, admit that you cannot prove from my quotation of John 3:16 in Arabic that Allah is Satan. And not this whole different change here. Allah is not, my goal is not to prove that Allah is not the God of Abraham as he claims, but a counterfeit, i.e. Satan. But he says it was not to prove that Allah is Satan. My goal is to prove that your Allah is not the God of Abraham as he claims, but a counterfeit, a wannabe, a phony, impostor, and a charlatan, i.e. Satan. And of course, it's very logical bottom line here. The Allah of the Quran is not the Allah of the Bible, and therefore an impostor, Satan. So I mean, do you see there's like a whole different, I mean, it's like, difference between, day and night. So, admit at least that you cannot do it, and then we can move on. We can discuss about Allah and, of the Quran, and Allah of the Bible, okay? Or God of the Bible, whatever, triune God of the Bible. We can talk maybe about that. But at least admit it, that you're wrong, okay? That's the whole point, I will admit when I'm wrong. Admit it when you're wrong, okay? I've done so in the past. Admit it when you are wrong. Sometimes I make, haphazard statements as well. I'll apologize if I'm wrong, Admit that you're wrong. Let's move on. Let's move on to maybe another discussion. That's, where I agree with Sam. That's going to be going up, back and forth, because people don't want to accept that they're wrong. That was my, a lot of the statements that I made in the beginning. Please accept that you're wrong. You don't, you did not understand, or you failed to prove your initial, statement. So let's move on, okay? And look at this amazing, I'm going to read it just once more because it's just amazing. If you didn't notice, my goal is not to prove that Allah is Satan. My goal is to prove that your Allah is not the God of Abraham as he claims, but a counterfeit, a wannabe, a phony, an impostor, and a charlatan, i.e. Satan. And of course, the nice bottom line. And therefore, an impostor, Satan. I mean, please, people, watch this carefully and you make your conclusion. Assalamu alaikum.